Welcome back to the news, and moving straight to our conversation segment. Nigeria's new INEC Chairman, Joash Amupitan, has vowed to end what many describe as courtroom elections, insisting that elections must now be won at the polling unit. The declaration was made during the 56th Annual Conference of the Nigerian Association of Law Teachers at the University of Abuja. But how realistic is this vision, and what will it take to achieve this, especially as we look forward to the Anambra State election on November 8th? To analyze this and talk more on this, I've been joined by Chukwuma Ephraim Okenwa, Executive Director, Lead Network Africa. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me. And now let's begin. We are looking forward to the elections, right? And almost every election in Nigeria seems to end up in the courtroom. So what can we say are the major reasons for this? Things we always see in Nigeria for every election, we always say almost every election end in the courtrooms. What can we say are the reasons why this always happen?
Of course, just like typically in any context with an umpire, if the umpire is fair, then the judgment is accepted as representative of the champion. So whoever is declared the winner is accepted by all parties concerned as fair, credible, and that which represents the entire interest of all the relevant stakeholders involved. But when a competition or a contest is adjudged as partial, then that means that individuals that are involved will not accept the outcomes because they see the outcome as flawed. They see the outcome as fraudulent. They see the outcome as that which is incredible. It's unbelievable, because it does appear that what is actually expected, the input, varies greatly with the output. So the implication of his statement would be that if INEC does the needful as the umpire in an election, then there will be less need for parties involved to go to the court to contest the outcome.
Yeah. All right. Now, so how visible, how practical is it, considering, his vision, considering the current political climate in Nigeria? How visible is it, especially as we look forward to November 8th elections?
Well, it's actually a tough one because you know that there is a great margin between what is said and what is done. I mean, talk is cheap. What does it really take to make a promise? Open your mouth and say it. And especially when it is said beautifully well, as an academic, that he is a professor in his own right. But beyond the talks, has the professor actually considered all of the things, that is involved in actualizing this wonderful vision? Whether when you talk about like issue of political interference, and in our own case in Nigeria, where Mr. President still have the sole right to appoint who becomes the INEC Chairman. And I think it's something that needs to be reformed. Yeah, because Mr. President should not have the right to appoint in a game, right, where he will be a player, considering that we don't have one-term presidency. So just imagine like maybe you had to play maybe a match between Rangers and Warriors, and Rangers is given the right to bring a referee from Enugu. You can be sure that that is it will be part of the home advantage of Enugu, right? And that's exactly what happens. So the likelihood of actually all of the fairness would be dependent on how firm the INEC Chairman is, right?
Yeah.
Is he somebody with firm integrity that will be able to stand his way and be able to resist, all of the political interferences? So these are, the things that certainly come to play out.
All right, now talking about, ensuring resistance, how can INEC ensure, practically ensure that political parties obey the constitutions and electoral act, so that there wouldn't be any back and forth? What role can INEC play to ensure that, political parties obey the constitution and the electoral act after elections?
Yeah, it's very simple, right? INEC should be a law-abiding institution and should be independent, right? So by independence, that means it doesn't have any special interest in any political party, right? Yeah. It means that they are ready to align with court judgments, right? And they are ready to kind of even to aid the process leading to the early resolution of challenges that involves political parties. But when INEC is seen as visibly compromised, then it also has some implications in terms of actualizing early resolution of cases. And so sometimes we've seen like cases where even matters could extend. Maybe some persons that the court has given instruction that they should be on the ballot or they should be taken away in the ballot. You see like INEC being at variance with some of those judgments. That should not be so, or maybe even delaying, like we know during the last presidential judicial proceedings, you know, when order was given to make available the necessary sensitive materials, you know, within, I think, about 5 working days. And I mean, for months, we were yet to hear from INEC. I mean, these are like some bureaucratic bottlenecks that could actually stall or delay legal proceedings and at the end of the day abort justice.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you know, this coming election, the Anambra state election, will actually be when his work starts, his position completely starts, you know, working. So my question, my concern is, with everything, I think, or how do I, okay. So what I'm trying to explain is, I think this vow will be tested, you know, in the coming elections. And do you think with what INEC is doing, is it enough to deliver in this coming election, considering the time?
Well, I would say that the time is really short, but of course, much more. I would say that maybe like just like in the case of the chairman, INEC particularly is not supposed to be the chairman, right? Yeah, okay. If not for the principle of the strong man in African politics. I mean, the institutional integrity should always be stronger, you know, than just the influence of one chairman and then maybe being influenced by some political players. Exactly. But I think just like political pundits have adjudged the coming election to be like a way to assess the new chairman. And I want to take it from 2 particular standpoints, right? I mean, just like we've seen in time past, the chairman may want to use this to show, or I'm a person of integrity, because of course, perhaps the person that put him there may not have any strategic interest in that particular election. And then with that, he may want to use like some of those staggered election, different from the general election. You know, exactly. There are some states that are staggered. Gain confidence as usual, right? Like we saw with Mahmoud. And then at the end of the day, he will not knock everybody the back up in 2027, right? You know, I just do hope that it's not going to be the usual predicted trajectory.
Okay. Now, as we round up this conversation, do you think there are legal gaps or legal loopholes that often push elections to the election results to the courts? You know, are there legal reforms that we need to look into as well to ensure that, you know, with his vow as well, we can be able to ensure that 2027 election as well as Anambra state election will be fulfilled, his vow will be fulfilled?
You know, when the National Assembly came up with the reforming of the Electoral Act, everybody was clapping. But I think 2 of the most important aspects they didn't touch is what is accounting for so much of court cases. Number 1 is that the process through which an INEC chairman emerges, you know, it should be reformed, right? It should be an independent process, not something that is just entirely at the discretion of Mr. President. And then number 2, it should be clearly, technology should be clearly integrated in every process. We saw like the case of the law court trying to interpret whether it's a transferring of result or transmission. That transmission is technological, while transfer is manual. And then when issues of failure of IREF, right, and BVAS was raised as being sufficient enough to cancel the process, we saw like midlords in the courts faulting that as not even the law. So I think we need something that is formidable, believable, you know, appropriate reformation in terms of the Electoral Act. And with that, there will be less of a court litigation and more of reliance, right? Believability of INEC results.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much for your time. I think we're going to look forward to the Anambra state election, and we hope it goes well. And as well as, just like you said, you know, they shouldn't use it to make us believe in them. Then when it comes to 2027 election, we see a different thing altogether. Fingers crossed, we continue to look forward to, you know, the play out. Thank you so much for your time again.
You're welcome.
All right. And that's the size of our package this afternoon. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all social media platforms at Afia TV Official. I am Ogochukwu Osai. Good afternoon.